This is Jonathan Kahn. It's June. That means it's Pride Month. Rainbows are everywhere, on television, in department stores, on corporate logos, in supermarkets, in parades, in children's cartoons, even on the U.S. Air Force website, even on the White House. But what's really behind it? We're going to pull away the veil to uncover a secret that goes back half a century and a mystery that goes back even farther, thousands of years. This, in my hands, is the presidential proclamation that Biden issued to begin this month. We're going to expose that too. What does this celebration actually celebrate? The president explains it in the first words of the proclamation. He says this: in June 1969, a group of courageous Americans rose up to protest the violence and marginalization they faced in what became known as the Stonewall Uprising. June is Pride Month because of that. The only problem is the president's narrative is twisted. The bar called Stonewall was owned by the mafia. It violated several laws. It was regularly raided. What was different that night is that the people whom the president praised as courageous Americans who stood bravely against the police to protest violence were the ones who actually committed the violence. The police consisted of about 8 people. The mob that came against them with violence consisted of hundreds of people. And the hundreds rose up violently against the 8, hurling stones at them, becoming so dangerous and violent that the police were scared for their lives. They retreated into the bar and barricaded themselves to save their lives. The mob then tried to get to the police by breaking down the doors of the bar. They then tried to set the bar on fire with the police inside the bar. They poured lighter fluid on paper and projectiles, ignited them and threw them and pushed them into the bar to burn the policemen alive. That's the actual origin of Pride Month, and that's what the president has called you to celebrate in his own words, which is to celebrate violence, destruction, and the attempt to burn police officers alive. The Bible says, woe to those who call evil good and good evil. The president is getting real good at it. He goes on to say, over 600 hateful laws targeting the LGBTQI plus community have been introduced throughout the land, except it's a lie. What are those laws? They are laws such as do not indoctrinate our children into this agenda, do not sexualize our children, don't expose them to this, don't confuse them as to whether they are boys or girls, don't inject them with hormones, don't mutilate them for the rest of their lives. And this is what the president calls hateful. He says it's targeting the gay community. Another lie. It's not targeting anyone. It's simply protecting children. He goes on. He says books about LGBTQI plus people are being banned. Do you know which books he's talking about? Books put into children's sections of libraries and schools with graphic pornography, teaching children to perform all kinds of sex acts, some advocating pedophilia, boys having sex with men, and indoctrinating them into these lifestyles. Parents are not only right to protect their children from such things, they have a responsibility to do so. And for the president to call the parents trying to protect their children evil is itself evil. Parents have to protect their children from their president's administration. Recently, the White House acted shocked when trans activists that they had invited for their White House Pride celebration exposed their breasts in front of the White House. That was an offense to do in front of the White House. But it's okay to expose sex acts to children. No, the offense was the act of the White House. The proclamation goes on to say, transgender youth in over a dozen states have their medically necessary health care banned. Another deception. What is he actually talking about? Laws that protect children against having adults confuse them, sexualize them, lead them into hormonal alteration, and surgically sterilize them, castrate them, have their organs removed, permanently mutilate them, even hiding it from their parents. That's what is masked as medically necessary health care. It is not gender-affirming care. It is gender-destroying mutilation. The president is waging war against the protection of children, actually seeking that states that ban the mutilation of children be denied medical funding, unlike states such as California, which are trying to make it law that if parents don't go along with transgendering their own children, the state can actually remove their children from them. In the proclamation, Biden says that his administration is waging war on, quote, conversion therapy. Well, does that include counseling people that they can be set free of same-sex attraction? Just wondering, because the Bible says just that. Just as they can be free of adultery and immorality by the power of God. So is the president going to declare the Bible illegal? In the proclamation, the president boasts of his signing the Respect for Marriage Act, which is actually the Disrespect for Marriage Act, and which was sealed when he lit up the White House as a rainbow. And the day that he did it happened to be the day which the Bible identifies as connected to sinful marriages that God says he would not respect. The Respect for Marriage Act struck down the Defense of Marriage Act, which Biden, as a senator, had actually voted for. He actually voted for, listen, to cut off any funds to any school that taught homosexuality.